Insane Marcus Freeman? Not so for Notre Dame coach. The arc of Marcus Freeman's tenure at Notre Dame can be read as a study in contrast. The stark expectations placed upon a program with storied tradition, and the measured, almost surgical approach Freeman has chosen to deploy. To observers focused on results, Freeman's offense and defense appear to be built not for headlines but for longevity. To those who crave dramatic turnarounds, his method can feel, at times, almost deliberately incremental. Yet in the crucible of a competitive landscape where one or two recruiting cycles can alter a team's ceiling, Freeman's philosophy seems designed to accumulate small, repeatable wins that compound over seasons. Recruiting and player development. One of Freeman's early ironies is how quietly his staff builds a roster under intense scrutiny. In the recruiting cycle after his ascension, Notre Dame aggressively pursued top prospects while simultaneously courting under-the-radar talents who fit a broader developmental arc. The strategy appears to be less about landing the hottest five-star recruits immediately and more about identifying players with professional-grade work ethics, high football IQ, and the adaptability to mature within a structured system. This approach might not produce instant superstars in the mold of a flashy transfer, but it tends to create players who can contribute in multiple roles, a prerequisite for sustaining success in a league that values depth as much as pedigree. The development pipeline at Notre Dame under Freeman emphasizes technique, film study, and situational intelligence. Strength and conditioning programs are paired with position-specific refinement, designed to maximize each athlete's ceiling without risking burnout. The result is a roster that often looks cohesive across games, with players who seem to execute the scheme with a shared language and rhythm. Critics might note that this style requires patience, but its advocates point to fewer roster churns, improved academic performance, and a culture of accountability that translates into on-field reliability. Game management and strategic evolution. Freeman's game management deserves a closer look, particularly in how it balances Notre Dame's traditional identity with adaptive strategy. The Irish have shown flexibility in formations, tempo, and personnel groupings, a willingness to exploit opponent weaknesses while maintaining a core of disciplined execution. This dual focus, respect for Notre Dame's football heritage and a pragmatic openness to innovation, has allowed the program to confront a diverse slate of opponents with confidence. Critical moments in recent seasons, games decided by margin, late comebacks, or defensive stands, offer partial evidence of Freeman's tactical strengths. When a game demands tempo control or red zone efficiency, the staff has leaned on meticulously prepared situational packages and corrections from the sideline. In critical situations, Freeman's communication with players emphasizes clarity over bravado, a trait that many players say fosters trust and reduces hesitation during pressure moments. Defensive discipline and offensive versatility. Notre Dame under Freeman has often prioritized a defense that can adapt to varied schemes and offensive tempos. The defensive principles, assignment reliability, gap integrity, and discipline in communication have allowed the unit to stay competitive against high-caliber offenses. On offense, Freeman and his coordinators have pursued a balance between protection schemes, run-heavy concepts, and play-action passes that create favorable matchups. The balance aims to mitigate risk while preserving explosive potential through misdirection and timing routes. This balance, however, is not without its critics. Some observers argue that the team can become too conservative in late-game situations, especially when trailing or facing a formidable opponent. Freeman's supporters counter that the emphasis on situational awareness and procedural correctness reduces the chances of catastrophic errors, which, in turn, preserves the opportunity to win in the closing minutes. Culture, leadership, and external perception. Beyond schemes and playbooks, Freeman's leadership has shaped Notre Dame's culture in meaningful ways. His messaging to players, staff, and fans centers on accountability, continuous improvement, and the long-term view of program building. This approach resonates with a demographic that values stability and character, helping to align the locker room with a shared mission. Alumni and donor perspectives often recognize the appeal of a long-range plan that promises sustainable competitiveness, even if it means tempering expectations in the short term. Media engagement and public perception are part of Freeman's broader leadership challenge. In an era when every game is scrutinized through social media and instant analysis, the coach's preference for measured, transparent communication can be a shield against rash judgments. Yet the constant visibility means every decision, roster moves, transfer admissions, and even practice routines enters the public conversation quickly. Navigating this landscape requires a nuanced approach to honesty, timing, and media education, ensuring that the program's message remains cohesive across platforms. Historical alignment and Notre Dame standards. Notre Dame's self-identity rests on a blend of athletic excellence, academic rigor, and a storied tradition. Freeman's task is to honor that legacy while steering the program toward modern competitiveness. The tension between tradition and innovation is not unique to his tenure, but the way it is resolved will likely define how the program is remembered. In this sense, Freeman's performance extends beyond wins and losses to the durability of a culture that blends faith, scholarship, and football. Long-term implications and potential trajectories. Looking ahead, several variables could influence Freeman's trajectory at Notre Dame. Recruiting momentum. Sustained success in recruiting, particularly at the quarterback and difference-maker positions, could accelerate the team's ascent in national rankings. Player development maturity. As more players gain experience within Freeman's system, the team could demonstrate a clearer ceiling and the ability to perform consistently against elite opposition. Scheduling and conferences. The evolving landscape of college football, including scheduling dynamics and conference alignments, may affect Notre Dame's competitive ecosystem and how success is measured. Health and depth. Injury adversity tests a program's depth. Freeman's approach to development and roster management will be tested in seasons with key players sidelined. Bottom line, the debate about Marcus Freeman's approach, whether it is insane or intentionally steady, likely rests on a simple metric: sustained progress that translates into consistent, meaningful wins over multiple seasons. If Notre Dame can convert potential into a sequence of durable performances, if players develop into reliable contributors within the system, and if the program maintains its standard of academic and athletic excellence, Freeman's methodology may be judged as effective, even if it lacks the flash that some fans crave. Insane Marcus Freeman? Not so for Notre Dame coach. The arc of Marcus Freeman's tenure at Notre Dame can be read as a study in contrast. The stark expectations placed upon a program with storied tradition, and the measured, almost surgical approach Freeman has chosen to deploy. To observers focused on results, Freeman's offense and defense appear to be built not for headlines but for longevity. To those who crave dramatic turnarounds,